Hey everyone, it's Mike Handies. I'm the founder of Augusta Lawn Care, where we have 170 plus locations around the world. But today we're going to be talking with Fred Sutherland and his wife that have a landscape business that has just about $800,000 in annual revenue.
I think they are becoming better human beings by working here, which is what I care about.
Now they've been plateauing at this stage for several years and trying to figure out what they need to do next to grow past $1 million, and really ideally they want to get past $5 million in annual revenue.
You can grow this thing to 1.2 pretty quickly.
And so if you're trying to grow your company and you're trying to figure out your office and your admin and having efficiency out in the field, this is going to be a great listen. This is a segment of a turnaround show that we went up and did in Canada with them in person. And you can see that on my main channel. But this is just the coaching. It's an extended version. So parts that were not shown on the main show are going to be shown today. Let's go ahead and roll the tape.
You looked, I don't know how thoroughly you looked at my balance sheet.
Yep.
And I threw it in ChatGPT.
You threw it in the ChatGPT?
Yeah, I was
and
like,
what'd you say?
I was like, analyze my
Oh yeah.
balance sheet.
What did it say?
And so it gave me an 8 out of 10
Oh,
on the
wow,
balance sheet.
look at that.
And it said that we're probably taking too much dividends out of the. Well, I'm like, well, ChatGPT, I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
Well, you're not taking a salary.
No, we're just
You're taking dividends. That's why,
dividends,
yeah.
right? So they're like, so we were pulling too much cash out of the business,
Right.
which is like we got to live off something.
Yep.
But I'm like, thinking about like moving forward. Would you suggest like just that pathway of like, with the current assets, don't purchase any additional equipment, and just run with what you have? So asset utilization, and then stack cash, or would it be healthy for me to purchase another piece of equipment that would help me do some of this work more efficiently? Because right now I do a lot of excavator rentals, right? Which is fine because I'm not using the equipment all the time, which is what you're always looking for. But I'm like, it's part of that cart before horse stuff. Like if you have the equipment, you start doing more of that work.
Yeah, but it's the narrative people tell, and that's what I get a little concerned about. Because like,
Yeah.
it's probably the thing that you told yourself when you bought the tractor.
Yes.
And now you've admitted that you don't use the tractor enough.
Yeah, but I don't feel bad about that because I'm like, it's not a stupid purchase. Like, and it doesn't cost me that much. Like, so it's like I'm not.
It's like $500, $450 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not a big deal.
Couple rentals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for the efficiency that comes for it when we do these jobs, because we can do them more efficiently.
Yep.
So like I thought about getting another machine, but I hear what you're saying. Maybe you're saying it's probably not a good idea yet, unless you have that work booked out.
It just depends how like aggressive you want to be, right? Like I think if you took out $50,000 loan, that would fund the marketing aspect.
Yeah.
And then you take, get a piece of equipment like an excavator, you can grow this thing to 1.2 pretty quickly. I also believe that just fixing several things on the sales side will probably get you to $1 million without any more equipment.
Okay.
And then it's just like the website, getting more leads around the project side.
Yeah.
Getting a vision to where someone else that's inside the current team or starts off in the maintenance division wants to move into the landscaping side.
Yeah.
And the reason now people actually care to read the books, et cetera, all these other aspects that you feel like are not sticking, they'll actually have some clarity as to why they should.
Yeah.
Like my team, for example, we've always hired the general manager from the current team every single time.
Yeah.
And they know that.
Yeah.
And I also am telling the general manager, hey, that general manager could probably move on to something else.
Yeah.
I'm going to be looking from all of you.
Yeah.
And here's the recipe to be able to be the general manager.
Yeah.
Read these books, show up to these meetings, and do these things.
Yeah.
And right now, like we just don't have anything like that.
Yeah. There's no internal development. Though there is a pathway like I've laid out, but it's not like formalized. And most of the people that are on my team are not thinking about. You kind of have to not convince them, but you have to show them that they can have a career here.
Right.
And
Proof.
most people that work for me are not. They're here for a season. That's kind of their mindset.
Yeah.
And they're great. But
in terms of getting like the more equipment, it really just comes down to your tolerance.
well, that's
for risk.
maybe it's a different way of saying it. Like you actually just answered the question, because you were like, get a $50,000 loan.
Yeah.
In that case, we would loan ourselves the money, and then put the money into the business, and then that gives you that cash that I'm fine if I buy a piece of equipment that I'm paying $1,500 a month payments on, because it gives me the cash is there to cover the stuff, and I'm confident that if I just start going after the work, the revenue will increase with the right people in place.
Right.
So there's kind of like, from what I hear you saying, like we're not totally in crisis mode to take on a little bit more debt.
I don't think so. Because I actually feel you'll be more profitable if you grow a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think like I'm just like stuck, and if I just get over that hump a little bit, and if I've been humming and hawing about putting money into the business for probably a year.
Well, because I think if you grow, it's not even a matter of like asset capacity or anything like that. I actually feel like by you growing the business and you focusing on sales and leadership, you'll spend more time in the business.
Yeah.
You won't go do the track and field thing.
Yeah, I'll just probably do them both actually.
Yeah, that's the motto.
Yeah.
But I mean, like those sort of opportunities won't seem as appealing because now you have some fulfillment in the business.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've signed on probably for another 4 years of that. So
Finish the term.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
But like I don't think from a debt perspective, it's way off balance.
Yeah.
It could sustain more. It's just a matter of like, I think all of this. I think the answer to that question comes in the clarity of the vision you have. Because if you had really laser-like clarity, it'd probably help also her in terms of confidence, in terms of like taking on more debt. Because right now it's like taking on debt for what? Like, are we just gonna keep? Are we still gonna stay stalled out?
Honestly, no. Part of it is like I've lacked the confidence maybe to really hire like a top player too, because I'm like, oh, I don't got the money to pay you. Like,
But do we need that?
I
They're going to come with their own preconceived notions of how things should be ran, or do we take our current team that you have said to me is top players, great talent, etc., and then say, hey, in a year, this is where I want you to be?
no,
Here-
no, they're not.
They're not capable.
They
there.
don't want to. They don't.
No, they're not. They're too young. I need someone who's, and I think I can recruit them or pull them. Like, there's no one internally currently that I'm like, you're the guy that I can.
Do they have the
3
ambition
years.
of wanting it though? No, none.
No.
Okay, so then it's a matter of when you hire. So let's just say that it's down the road a bit.
Yeah.
So when we know that we're coming up to when we're going to scale or jump something in a year, I'm recruiting and I'm going to tell them about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to hire someone that is completely overskilled for the current position.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I do that, the reason I like to do it is because then I had them for 6 to 12 months around other team members, and they raise the bar.
Yes. Yeah.
And then only reason they're attracted is because they know what's to come.
Yes.
So instead of hiring next spring for like another lawn mowing guy, you're gonna be, hey, you're gonna start lawn mowing, but here's the vision, here's the goal, and in 6 months, this is where I want you to be at. I'm hiring you for this position today, but this is where you're gonna be at in 6 months.
Yeah.
You'll get them for cheaper.
Yeah.
There'll be less feelings of like you owe them stuff, entitlement. Because if you come get someone else that's been running a $3 million division and they come over here, it's not going to be.
No, I hear what you're saying, and that was a little bit with the guy I hired. This was too small, mom and pop for him.
Yeah.
He had to do work, and I'm like, well, you're not just a manager who's like watching the budget.
Because what you're hiring for is a project manager.
Yes. Yeah.
When they come here, they are working on the job, and 3 to 4 times a week, they're going to interact with the customer.
Yes.
So what you do is you hire a laborer, and you tell them, here's the vision.
Yeah.
You will become a project manager over the course of a couple years.
Yeah.
And here's what I'll be able to pay you. Here's what the job will look like, but I need you to start here.
So coming back to the steps, because I like to kind of understand things from your suggestions. So do all of that kind of visionary work on the construction side, really nail down the role, the expectations, but also the sales strategy, and also some of the like, here's the packages we're trying to sell, here's who we're trying to sell to. That's all locked and loaded, ready to go. And then inject some money into the business to give us that little bit of cash boost, so I'm not worried about making payroll all the bloody time. And then even though we do have a pretty large line of credit too that we could dip into.
And then we're going to fund, the reason that we're going to make sense of putting that money in is because we're going to change the way we do project management so that when our backlog fills out, we're going to increase prices. That's how we'll be able to convince ourselves that putting money in the business actually makes sense.
Yes. So we follow that. We get someone locked in to do those projects. We push that. We actually start marketing for that. And then suddenly I'm probably at $1 million by next year.
And there's elements that of the sales part, like we haven't really delved in the lead. I do believe the lead bottleneck is what you'll hit right away. And so like right now, the notion is I will dump money on marketing. We have done that in the past and it has not worked.
Yeah.
And so then it's a matter of, well, how are you going to solve that problem? That will be the next constraint if you put money in the business, because you have like liquidity. If you inject a bunch of capital in this business, the next thing you will need is leads.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. And I'll tell you why, because I just know too many people. As soon as I start making phone calls and I say...
Then that's the strategy.
Yes.
Then the question is, why do we need the money?
To do the work. Like, you know that...
Working capital.
Exactly. You need working capital.
Okay.
Like, I need working capital to confidently cover payroll, to get that extra machine, to pay for the $10,000 worth of pavers when I have to buy them in the front end, even though I follow the whole like
Deposit,
50% up front, all that, those policies.
Yeah.
All of our strata work is all prorated as far as invoicing and stuff too. So the cash flow thing's figured out.
Yeah.
It's just that working capital to get after it and not worry about the money dropping in the bank account. And then I start making phone calls because people know that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And right now we're in Abbotsford. You know this area. Like, there's all these places that you can find work. I just don't go there because when they phone me, I'm like, I don't want to go there. Like, we don't want to deal with the freeway.
Yeah.
If I say yes to that stuff, man, I know for a fact I'll double how much revenue we're producing in the construction.
And when you double the leads coming in, because you'll be able to now spend time doing that, we will have a strategy to capture as much profit as possible. Because just dumping money, working capital in business will never solve a problem.
No.
So there has to be other things fixed. Like, so if we can fix, okay, working capital, great. Okay, we're going to solve the vision problem, great. That still does not fundamentally change the profitability of the business.
Yes.
And so there has to be implementation around, we will charge more money when we are booked out 1 month, 2 months, 3 months,
That
etc.
is honestly fantastic, that thing. I still think we're profitable enough when we do, but I think it's going to like blow our profitability out the window. Like,
Will get you excited about going and doing sales when you're 4 months booked out. You're like, we're booking at that rate?
Yeah.
And if you're so confident, you can go call people and sell, then like go do that. Go get an admin person, get someone to go run the landscape jobs. If you think you can, like, I can drive $2 million of landscape jobs if I just have a phone, then we should be doing all of our time on that.
Yeah.
Like everything else, like if you're good at that, you enjoy it, and everything else you despise, then delegate everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Is this getting?
Yeah.
Well, I need you to like understand everything you need to understand too. So.
But even like on the website side, for example, like as time goes on, like there's ways to get more leads. Like even like the web form, like the estimate request form can be above the fold. It can be pitching landscape installations. The picture up top, not someone mowing.
Yeah.
A before and after of a landscape renovation.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a lot more SEO around just Abbotsford you could do on that site.
So how would you, I guess what, you have perspectives because you do this website construction quite a bit. So are you like...
I'll dive into it at home and I'll just send you a loom. Like I'll send you a video of like exactly what I would do. Because like, if you have someone that could just like make a few tweaks on that, you'll double your leads. And the reason that I say double is because you're only getting a few a week now. You can easily double that.
Yep.
And if you have that, and then you have the fact that you think you can just literally pick up phone and start calling people, this is a $2 to $3 million company from a sales perspective. The only bottleneck becomes, can you find leaderships that can actually run the operations and admin side for you?
That's the big piece, and that's talent.
I think
Talent
that's where we
recruitment.
get stuck sometimes.
We do. It's the talent retention and recruitment and all that piece. And that's honestly, I've always said to guys in the game in landscaping around here, like the landscape market is hot in this area.
Yeah,
like,
it is. Yeah.
It's quite easy to actually find work if you want work. It's finding people.
Right.
And everyone I know has the same problem.
Yeah.
It's finding the right staff and keeping them and all that stuff. So.
And if you talk to the guys who have 10, 15, $20 million businesses, talk to their founder for an hour and see how clear they are on the vision of the company.
Yeah.
Like they built it, and the reason they attract the best people.
Only the one that we know isn't.
He's not clear at all.
He's like scattered.
Oh, dude, man, these
like
guys.
a family mentality.
Yeah,
They
it's
become a part of their
well,
society.
those guys who started those businesses, they had no clue that they weren't trying to build big companies. Like
They're
they
just
probably
great
almost happened by accident.
Yeah.
Like to their like intentionally doing things to hurt that, and it still happened.
But when
So-
you break down like how they recruit, for example, like when you start seeing how they bring in great talent,
Yeah.
many times it is around, Here's your SOP is going to be.
Yeah.
Here's your objectives. Here's the compensation model based upon how you perform on your crew.
Yes.
And this is your crew, and you are expected to do 600,000. If you get over that, you start getting a percentage of. They start having these things that is all like around the team member being incentivized to do a great job.
Yes. Yeah. Some of the companies, some of them are. It's the strategy is just have a big family with.
Which is a strategy.
Dutch people.
I mean, exactly.
You go hire all the cousins
Strategy.
and
It's
here
a different strategy. Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I guess so. Like out of questions, like obviously, I really appreciate kind of the clarity you're bringing around next steps. I did have some questions around the working capital. It's helpful to hear. Like obviously, you've seen enough cases where just putting working capital in the business doesn't solve all the problems. I can see that. Like I like that strategy of the operations. Like when we're booking out how we increase to be more profitable. That all makes sense to me. I think
That's in the book, right? Sid?
Yeah.
I think part of it too is just and like when I first applied for this thing, like I think slowly I've been more and more shifting towards like, oh, we're gonna keep doing this. Like I'm not gonna quit. It was discouraging, and there's things that I'm realizing I was naive around, which is okay. Like it's people don't want to read books and all this stuff, but I'm like, but if we're honest, like we've seen a lot of growth in our employees, just like character. Like you hang out with good character people, and they have an effect on you, and so I can celebrate that. It just doesn't look the way that I thought it would look. I think they are becoming better human beings by working here, which is what I care about. So, but it's just coming back to a place of believing in it.
Yeah.
I think I just lost I don't know, lost my heart there for a little bit, like, and got bored, got just whatever, distracted, lots of things, discouraged.
Yeah.
And I think that's normal. I know you preach that a lot, like staying in the game. But I think like your logic makes sense to me. Like if I do a different business, it's just you're going to be the same thing, just in a different industry, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've thought that through enough and kind of talked to people that own different types of businesses where I'm like, oh, you're having the same problems as me.
Yeah.
But you're like
I have a hard
HVAC.
time finding engineers
Yes,
for software.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like whether I pay them $20 an hour or $200 an hour. It's hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's just like, what do you want the end result to be? And then realizing that you had clarity on that a few years ago.
I did, yeah.
You just went 3 years in, and now we need to readjust. Like, okay, we're here now. I understand a lot more than I did 3-4 years ago.
more,
I have way more clarity, actually.
Yeah.
So it's okay to adjust the goal. Like, the goal doesn't have to stay the same from day one. In a
Yeah.
few years, I'll probably be talking to you again and be like, hey, time to recalibrate a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you're always evolving and changing, and 100%. Yeah.
And the same thing is true, like from the project perspective, we talked about how far you're booked out. The same thing is true when it comes to your strat and your maintenance. Like, what is our capacity in terms of our current trucks and employees? And when we hit that capacity, what do? We raise prices. Because we're not trying to grow that side of the division.
That part's a lot more difficult to do because like the way that stratas work, they're going to have like a budget that they create for the year, and then there's this process where you put the bid in and you win the work, and it's slower to raise prices. And so we have been over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And you can raise prices.
But I mean, just to new customers.
Oh, to new customers.
Right?
But I don't want any more new customers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is that determined? Like, so for example,
Yeah.
if we have 150 budget hours per week of projects,
Yeah.
how many budget hours per week can we do a strata?
Yeah.
Where are we at? What percentage of that capacity we've filled? When we hit this, what do?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
now new customers, when they ask for a strata, because it's the middle of spring rush, we're not just going to go do the estimate and like put them on the schedule. It's like, okay, well now we're above capacity.
Yeah.
They're going to be this different price.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah. So then if they do go, because often the higher prices are always you're selling quality, which we actually have a reputation to do quality work, which is why we have demand there. So then you can convince people to potentially go with
But
you
here's the
because
cool thing. You just said, I don't want the work.
I don't.
Now you are selling from a completely different leverage.
Yeah.
Right now, like in the past, it's been like, I need to grow, I need to get more customers, I'm finding.
Yeah.
Like now it's like, look, I don't need your work. Like I don't like here's our reviews. Oh, you want a deal? No. Like this is what the price is. You have way more confidence.
Yeah, so the strategy we've been implementing right now with the maintenance division is I'm actually axing customers. Like all the data that I'm seeing, like, okay, this is like the man hours is way too much. Sorry, we're not going to go. Either this is the price, or if part of it is like, are you annoying to deal with? Because if you are, I think we're going to just let you go. And we'll work with these people. And so we're kind of in that process of like, of letting go of certain accounts and picking up other ones based on how well we're doing, and also the level of enjoyment too. Like if the guys hate, we had that $100,000 project or complex was okay for profitability, but it was so annoying, and the labor, they had all these high trees, and I'm like, okay, no, we're not doing this anymore. We can do different work. So no, but are you hearing that too around how the strategy there, like the levers?
I think the confidence piece, and I've heard that before in other businesses, and it's when you start off, you're like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to have different pricing. But once you hit that confidence, and it's like, okay, now we can.
Yeah, if you're 6 months booked out, like, okay, let's assume we don't get the contract for a strata, or someone drops us because we raised their price. Oh, well, we have work coming in in 6 months. We're going to pull it forward, and the customer's going to be thrilled, and we're going to get the same price on it.
Yes, better pricing usually. Because our maintenance man hour rate is lower than our construction.
But we sold it as if it's at our higher rate because we're so far booked out.
Yes.
Well, now they're not going to be complaining like, we'll get it done in 2 weeks because we lost this other contract on strata. All you did is you moved your budget hour capacity from less strata to more projects because we're going to move a couple guys over there.
Yeah. So this is where you can do your sales thing, okay, Mike? Right? I want to hear about how Copilot.
Well, that's the thing I was gonna ask, because it's like that requires a lot of admin.
Right.
So it's like at some point, like I can do so much admin and so much tracking and figuring that out, but it's like, at what point do you actually?
Most of you guys are doing 90% of it already. It's just a matter of tracking it. But like, I think if I was you, I would probably have one, like, also like really tactically. Like, it's just like, I'd have one spreadsheet. I would have two pages. I have a 1 week for every single week of the year. So like week 1, January 1st to January 7th, whatever. All the way down through. I have 2 different lines underneath them, and one would be maintenance, and one would be projects. And then I have my total capacity for budget hours, total budget hour capacity. Okay, we're going to start off as our budget for budget hours is going to be, let's just make up a number, 70 budget hours for maintenance and 70 budget hours for projects. So our total is 140. Okay.
And you're coming to that, just to clarify, based on 75% efficiency.
Correct. So 30 budget hours per full-time team member. Okay. So you could literally probably do the math now of what your capacities are.
Yes. Yeah.
Then it's just a matter of when jobs are accepted, we need to update the spreadsheet. Right. So if it's a project, it's going to be, okay, what day do we put them on the schedule? Boom. Okay. Now we're booked out an extra 2 weeks because that was a big project. Okay. We're booked out to here. All right. For the maintenance side, it's going to stay very consistent until you sell a big strata job. And so it's actually not going to take a ton. Like, if you are doing 5 leads a day, I would say you need software to track this. You're doing a couple new projects a week. You're doing 1-2 stratas a month. Like, you can definitely do this in a spreadsheet.
Now on the lead side, like currently, like the calls go to me. And so if we're gonna have like increased leads, we had a whole like filter system that we were trying to implement, a sales process that we don't really follow because I'm terrible at following that stuff.
Some of us follow it.
I just kind of wing it.
Follow the process.
In terms of like call intake.
So it's like a whole like, that someone would reach out to us. We'd have that initial phone call to see if they're the right fit, and then I'd do a site visit, and I'd find their budget, blah blah, all that stuff. But I feel like if there's going to have increased calls, I might have to work with like either we hire like someone who's going to run phones, or I go with one of those call services that's going to like filter through the people that I don't even really want to talk to. They're not a good fit for us.
So with the $50,000, let's just say we inject in terms of working capital, I would say during our spring rush, we're going to hire someone for 5 hours a day. And they're going to do admin. It's going to be $100 a day. It's going to be, maybe a little more. So let's just call it $120 a day. So times 5, that's $600 a week, $2,500 a month. It's going to be $10,000 for the spring rush. We know that's when all our leads come in. We book out way out into the future. And that's when you can't handle it yourself.
That is so smart. I've never thought about like temporarily hiring someone.
Well, it's like if you have a seasonal demand, you should have seasonal work.
And
so we can do the same thing for admin that you do for your guys out in the field.
And you could just get one of your friends to do it for you, like someone that we know that's a mom that just wants some extra work for the spring.
And the whole process is like the way to make them successful.
That is such a freaking
you
smart
just,
idea.
Here's the system. When you answer the phone, this is what you do.
Yeah.
Like we have 70 agents at Command Center. Just like when you answer the phone, here's how it goes. Like you do this,
script,
and then this, and then this.
Yeah.
And like if it's a project and it's an estimate, these are the questions I want you to ask before you set up the estimate for him.
Right.
If a job is accepted, okay,
Dude.
go to the spreadsheet, put it here. Oh, the customer wants to know when they can get on the schedule. Okay, here's how you do it.
Do you think your mom would want to do that?
No.
She would want to do it?
She has art class.
Okay, sorry.
She's retired.
She'd be great at that though, and someone could make some extra money just doing simple.
Yeah, there's tons of
Yeah.
people that would.
And if you say, hey, look, because I know your market, so March, April, May, and June, there's your 4-month spring rush. You're going to work from 8 to 1 p.m. That's going to give you the flexibility to say, hey, we're open 8 to 5. You only have to answer the phone from 1 to 5.
Yeah.
8 to 1, you get all your operation stuff done, all your hiring, all your estimates. 1 to 5 is going to be you're creating the estimates and you're ready for the phone, and you will follow the same process as them because
Yeah.
now you have that time blocked for them.
Okay, so I have to follow the process. Can't just wing it.
And then that's probably
Make the process for them. You can't change it.
that's probably only That's probably only 1 year before you grow enough because you've been able to do that
yeah.
that you can hire someone full time.
And then they just do other admin while they're not.
Yeah, they work on something,
You
help
have
you
the
out.
list, right? So it's like, okay, so when there's not a call come in and you haven't done the email, like you just have an order of operations.
Yeah.
Number 1, answer the phone. Number 2, web chat. Number 3, estimate request forms. Number 4, you just go right down the list, expense categorization. Like you just go right down the list. Like, how do I operationalize that? You literally do screen recordings, and it's like, okay, how to schedule job. It's you doing a Loom of like walking through how to do that. Save to a Google Drive folder. So when they get a job accepted, they're like, oh, how do I do? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, okay. And they follow one step at a time exactly as you've done it. Right. You go to the form, you fill out the budgeted hours, then you go to the customer, you send them this email template, and you put them this schedule. Like, you can operationalize it and make it like you start with this, and here's the last thing you do. And you might not get to this if there's a lot of stuff happening. Like if you have all these calls coming in, you probably aren't going to get the email. And if there's a ton of emails, you probably won't get to the expense categorization.
Yeah, it's the details that I love doing.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're good at that.
For myself, like this is how you do it.
You man, you're an SOP queen. Like.
And then if you have someone like that, for example, you can put something like a web chat that during 8 to 1 is live on your site. If someone goes there, they can actually start interacting with them.
Yeah.
Estimate request forms get responded to faster. Now you're having the confidence to put the estimate request form at the top of your site instead of going on a contact us page.
Yeah.
Or they have to call. They just want to submit an estimate request form. And it's like, well, I can also filter them out somewhat by just putting like, what's your budget? Having a 3-step drop down of like 3,000 to 6,000, 6,000 to 12,000, 12,000 plus. Okay, I already kind of know where they're at. And it's going to weed out all the people like, I should have this whole project done for $1,000. You just did the whole weed out process in the form.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. You hearing all that? Yeah. No, that's gold, man. That's something I would have never thought of. I don't know why. It's a simple solution, just a temporary hire that can. Now, obviously, you probably use some sort of, because right now it's my actual number that the calls go to. So then we would just have some sort of generic number that gets forwarded to a different phone during different times.
You can also get secondary, like you have iPhone, you can get a secondary number to one phone too, if you wanted to. But I would probably have like a office phone that you give to them. And then they're here or wherever. You can also just do it on like Grasshopper, for example, and split the line to them. So they'll pick up from their phone after the customer calls your number. Like that part is like just X's and O's.
Yeah. So we'd have to sort that out, and then maybe wherever they work, then we'll figure that out. Maybe they can work at home, right? That could work.
Because if they're just taking incoming calls, for example, they don't need to have an outbound number.
No. Yeah, no, that's gold.
Because you're trying to reduce your reactions. Like throughout the day right now, the reason you resent growing the business in part is because it leads to more phone calls, more problems, more people calling you. Like you just don't want to deal with it. So like now from the time you wake up till 1 p.m., you do not deal with that. And you're going to focus on the thing that you're really good at, which is sales and operations. Let the admin stuff go.
Yeah.
By doing that for 1 year, you'll likely grow the business to the point where you can afford a full-time admin person.
Yeah, which would be awesome.
And it's probably going to be the person you would do part-time with. And again, you're going to get them convinced that, hey, the goal isn't a year, you're going to be full-time. And here's how I know. Here's my strategy. Here's the goal. Here's what we're working towards.
Yeah, getting it. It all is interconnected.
Well, that's why that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't get the good project manager to buy into the vision. You don't get the admin person who wants to work part-time. They want full-time right today. Like, no, like here's the vision. Here's how it fits in.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. This is, I guess it changes a little bit the way I was going to spend my winter months here, but it's,
I think it's the thing that you're going to be strongest at, honestly.
I like that stuff a
Yeah.
lot. I
You're
do.
probably getting excited.
Like you'll get more excited
Yeah.
about the business focusing on like how do I actually nail down the order of operations for my admin person that I wish they'd just take everything off my plate. You'll get more excited about that than like, answering phone calls from people.
I don't like, well, the thing, I also think people should be treated well. And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this person right now. It's
Yeah.
like, this is terrible.
And you'll be more inclined to actually focus on like lead flow. Like I
Yeah.
generally believe you could double the leads from the website with just a couple little changes.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
you'll be fine with it now because someone else is taking the phone calls.
Yeah.
The estimate request form are coming to someone else. You don't feel like, oh, I've got to open up my email. Like that should never be in your stomach.
Oh, I have that all the time. Man.
So like the
Oh my
first thing I would say is
goodness.
like no email on your phone.
Yes.
Your phone should not be the phone that's being advertised.
Yeah. That's all the emails. Well, they go to her right now, predominantly.
But can you access them from your phone?
Oh,
Maybe.
He looks at my, oh my word.
See, this is the thing. This is what.
One pet peeve.
Yeah.
What my strat? Because I have kids,
Yeah.
so I get distracted.
Yeah.
So I'll look at the email. And
This
I'll
is some
read
are
it,
opened.
And then
See?
and then I will mark it unread,
Ah.
so I don't forget.
Yeah,
And then he'll go into my email
Respond.
and read it,
yeah,
and then leave it unread, and then
There you
I'll.
go.
Or
I've
leave it read.
gotten better.
yeah. But see,
I've heard you.
this is why you're bottling up against 700,000. Because like as I say, like after 800,000 is architect.
Yeah.
You're failing to go from manager to architect,
Yeah.
and the manager inside of you wants to go check the email.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still wants to stay involved in all these little processes. The architect has to step away from the business.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And,
have
like-
people that you can trust to do that. But what I also like you say is what is your thing you say? Is there 100% is your 60% or
Yeah,
70%?
80%.
So I'm like, yep, I'm gonna have to just let those things go wrong, and
Yeah.
it's okay. They're learning.
He does leave my bookkeeping alone though. so
Yes.
I'm
Because
quite
he doesn't like it.
I don't.
happy. If you touch that, I'm gonna be really mad.
Yeah, and so
Screw
like
it up.
the skill that will be the thing you focus. Like what has gotten you here is how do I actually like manage a project? How do I sell a job? That's the role of a manager. The role of an architect is to step away from the business. Like how do I optimize this website to get more leads?
Yes.
How do I create the SOPs for my admin person so they don't have to bother me? Like they asked me the same thing 3 times yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to make a loom so they just understand it.
Yes.
So they can, and like they didn't watch the loom. Oh, I need to make part of the process that before they contact me, they search the database.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what an architect, they step away from the business. That's why like someone like me will step in and like see your numbers and it's really clear. I'm a third party. I'm out of the business.
Yeah.
That's what you have to become to take the business to the next level.
Yeah. I know that makes sense.
You will drive in here and be like, why are the trucks parked over there? We could get like way better efficiency if we parked them slightly at an angle.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of thing an architect thinks about. As a
Yeah.
manager, you're just like, no, who cares about that? Like we need to get the emails done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I am a lot of my energy spent on some of that operation stuff. And then I have my dream fulfilled where I'll have a job where I can work out in the middle of the day.
But see, again, like defining that's super important.
It is. I'm
like-
like,
Like defining what that role is going
Yeah.
to look like for you. Like
Yeah.
I know what my day will look like when I hit the certain point I want to be at.
Yeah.
It's not just like, well, I want to grow a big business. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
It's like saying, well, I want to get from here to Everest. Okay, great. Like, but we now need to get a plan. Like, work backwards. We know where we're
Yeah.
gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, are we gonna have a plane? Are we gonna drive? Are we gonna hitchhike? Like, what's the plan
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
And so like now it's like work backwards from the fact that you want to work out in the middle of the day. That's a great benchmark because
Yeah.
there's so many other things that will have to be fixed for that to be hit.
Yep. Yep.
Right? You'll have to have an admin person.
Yeah.
You'll have to have an operations person. You'll
Yeah.
have to have a sales person.
Yep.
Right? You will not be able to have the email coming. You will not be able to have the phone coming on your cell phone.
Yep.
And so then what you start doing is ask yourself, okay, is that future self going to have the email coming to their cell phone? No.
Yeah.
Oh, probably shouldn't be doing that now.
Yeah, you start working towards it. It's the classic, like working backwards from where you want to go. Yeah, I understand. Like all the stuff you're saying makes sense. Doing it, like obviously, there's always going to be challenges along the way to get to where you want to go, but it is the stamina is there. And you know what's funny is one of our core values is having a positive and persevering attitude. So to keep going when those things come up because you know where you're trying to go, right? That it gives that perseverance. So it's this has been really valuable, man. Like I appreciate you coming out here and
I would say like perseverance becomes brutal work when the goal is not defined.
Yeah.
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 Like perseverance is like grinding at a mill.
Did you make that quote up or did you read that in a book?
Oh, I just thought right now. Like
Wow.
when
Mike Andes. Say it again.
well, like when I think about like someone persevering, it's like the only reason we actually admire is because they're going towards something.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
And so if you don't have that defined, it is just craziness.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little axiom that you should
We should put that
you should
somewhere.
coin that. Yeah.
We'll put it there. Inspired.
Cool. Well, is there anything else I can help with? I think like if this is not like a turnaround, like there's a big problem with the business. I saw that in the financials. Usually we don't go to business like that. There's usually not a story. I also believe that there's companies and their business owners just like you that are in like midlife crisis of a business.
Yeah.
And it happens between that stage of manager to architect and just like, we need to change frame here. And like, there needs to be changes in the business. And a lot of times it's just looking inward and like, what do we want from this business? Where are we going? And like, how am I preventing that growth from happening?
Yeah.
It sounds to me like the growth is there.
Yeah.
So we're doing something wrong. And usually it's just us as owners.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where I think the turnaround story is
Yeah.
that I just needed like an internal turnaround. Like there's some strategy that needed to be shifted, but there's also like getting clarity on where you're going and some operational pieces because we were stuck, right? So it's super helpful to have the clarity that you're given, and I'm hoping it'll help other people too who are in a similar spot to me to keep going and keep pushing through. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming out here and being able to do this. It's been awesome for us. Yeah.
I'll send you a video. I'll give it to Zach and they'll send over about the website.
Perfect.
There was several things I think like there's a
Yeah.
couple little changes. It'd help with the leads. I know right now that doesn't seem like the constraint, but I think it'll give you more confidence.
Yeah,
Get
I
book
hear
out,
you.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
Like clarity, so that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Anything else I can help with?
Well, we
I know
have
they're coming back in a few days, I think, to do
Yeah.
fish crew and all that sort of thing.
we have another business that we talked about that we have kind of been, I don't know, it's like one of those things where we tried to sell it, no one was open
Yeah.
to buying it, and
The
then,
event thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's like, do we just kind of like?
I'm not an entrepreneur. Like
No.
Right.
I'm not an architect.
But
So,
I go ahead.
well, I was just saying, so like when I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is a great side hustle
Yeah.
for someone
Yeah.
who doesn't actually have like set hours for time and space in their life. It's like
Yeah.
I can just do it when I can.
Yeah.
And it's great that way, right? But
And just
he's
talking this out,
entrepreneur.
No.
actually, like if we continue to scale on the landscape side, like I think probably your role could be reduced just the bookkeeping piece, which you enjoy,
Yeah.
and maybe you have a little more energy for that down the road. That could be a
So your question was just like, is it wise to have two?
yeah. I've thought about, is it a distraction having two businesses?
But you're not involved in that one at all, are you?
No.
Okay.
Not really. No. Like
Yeah.
I'm involved
More
in.
like tries to give me a
I
break.
see the opportunity. Oh man, I see the opportunity. I'm like, the margins are so juicy. I'm like, why are we not going with this thing?
Yeah.
And I'm more of a manager and like a details, and I'm like, but I got the storage figured out. Like,
Yeah.
it's out, it's organized. It's great.
So
Yeah.
it's like maybe, but you can't, like, it's unwise to try to do like multiple things at
Yeah.
once. What in our stage of life where we have kids and other
Right.
responsibilities. So
Like, do you want to do the business?
I love the business, but I don't know if I would love it if it got to like a big.
Because your role would change.
Because my role would change, and I don't know if I could handle the pressure of
Right.
running a big business.
Yeah, then
Like,
don't.
it's-
Just
so-
don't do it like until you love it. And like
Yeah.
the thing is, as the business grows on your end and like on the landscaping side and it becomes profitable and you're feeling more fulfilled, this becomes optional.
Yeah.
It's like, do you like doing this? If not, what are we doing?
yeah.
So don't build it into something you're gonna hate,
Yeah.
because then you're gonna nix it, not have anything, and then this won't be ready yet to actually sustain the family.
Yeah, it's logical to focus on this one first. Where we were, there was a times where we were like, maybe we should do more of this because you just see the margins are so much better.
Yeah. But we also don't like the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all weekends.
Right.
So I do like a lot of rentals, which works great for kids.
Like if you could close it tomorrow and the family be able to provide just fine, would you do that? Would you prefer that?
I would be happy, but
Yeah.
not like any more happy than I am right now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that. Just keep it there.
Yeah.
Just keep it there.
Yeah.
If you get tons of leads, just raise prices, make a little more money.
Yeah.
Right? Because then eventually you'll want to drop it because this will be fine.
Yeah.
And like the kids will be a certain size or whatever. And you're just like, I want to get rid of it. Build it in a way where like when you let it go, it's not this big pain in the butt.
Yeah.
You know, you got a manager, and I got to do bigger storage, and I got to do bigger events. Like, you enjoy it. Just stay there.
Yeah.
I would just recommend that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It's the same thing. Like when you first got started saying doing this, and you were really involved in doing the work, the margins are better, 70, 80%. And that's why everyone's like, well, I should scale it up.
Yeah.
Some people are the opposite of you, which I tell them, you should just stay in the field and have 70, 80% margins and keep doing that.
Yeah.
Right? So like you're literally looking at someone who's like, I would say, hey, keep small, and telling you like, get up as high as possible. You have very different skill sets. And I got together, that's why you're probably like, it's so valuable.
We're a 1-2 punch.
Right, 100%. And like there's, huge amounts of value there. So I would just like, don't tell her to like she should grow, and don't tell him that he should stay small, right?
Yeah, no, that makes
and I don't think
we both said that.
yeah, right? So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of like you both have very different skill sets, and at different sizes of businesses, those skills will be most utilized,
Yeah.
right?
No. So last question, then we can get going. But like, as far as like continuing to scale, from your perspective, when you've kind of heard, well, you know the market, right? You've seen. Are you envisioning continuing to scale maintenance in addition to construction, or are you saying like just have like a maintenance that's kind of like at a certain revenue size and scale this up? Like, because you really could do both, I guess, if you wanted to. But like, it's what's kind of like your perspective on what you're seeing from other companies?
I would be tracking my capacity for both maintenance and the project side.
Yeah.
I'd be really monitoring, okay, we're getting tons of like lead count, but then how many are projects, how many are recurring maintenance?
Okay.
And then I'd be tracking like when I hit above my recurring maintenance threshold, I'm raising prices.
Yeah.
And then I will make a determination every winter, am I going to increase that capacity, i.e. buy more trucks and hire more people for that division or not?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't need to have that locked into my long-term vision. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're going to work out in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
It's
that's
going to be
true.
a determination each winter. It's like we are getting tons of leads for projects, but we keep hitting capacity and we're booked out 8 months. Okay,
Yeah.
let's increase capacity on that division. Let's move one of the trucks over, i.e. reduce the capacity because we lost a couple strata jobs, or let's go buy the truck for the project division.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's all like you'll see the whole chapter in the book. It's like growth should just simply be dictated by budget hour capacity.
Not
Like when I
by-
hit that,
Yeah.
I'm making a decision. Either I'm in growth mode, which I'm going to get more employees and get more trucks, or
Yeah.
I'm in profit mode, I'm going to raise prices. It's
Yeah.
a binary decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually super helpful because I did not think that way, but it is just like it makes more sense. There's a lot of other like a lot of companies that have, I would say, they're maintenance heavy, like they scale high into the commercial side, and then they have like a smaller construction division. Like there's quite a few actually. They're like probably like $2-3 million companies around here. And then there's some large construction companies that have like just a maintenance division that they do like a small one just to kind of maintain their own stuff. So I don't know, like different models, but you could really just, it's not about the model, it's more about like the capacity and also I think who you have on your team, like your talent on your team.
That'll
Like,
change the capacity, right?
It does,
If you have
yeah.
a really good all-star, all of a sudden that capacity of the entire team could come up.
yeah, yeah. So there's not, it's helpful to know I don't need a ton of clarity on that per se.
Right.
Because I started this business with laser sharp clarity on what I was trying to do,
Right.
and why. So some of that was just determined by my personal preference of like, I like people. I don't want to just do commercial work. I want to hang out with old ladies and make their yard look good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so cool, man. This is
Ask about Copilot.
Yeah, I don't think it's a priority. I don't think it's a
Okay.
priority. You have the budget, looks solid. You guys are using budgeted hours. You're organized. It's not an important thing.
Okay.
It's not going to like, it's not even come close to impacting the business as much as charging people more if you're booked out further.
yeah.
Like that alone will probably add $40,000 to
Yeah.
$50,000. Like those are like huge rocks.
Right.
Changing Copilot, why add all that friction in the
Right.
middle of this? Like we have more important things to focus on.
So what size do you need like a program like that?
Well, what are you using now? LMN?
Just for estimates. We don't use it for.
Any sort of dispatching or anything like
No,
that?
we created our own thing. Like
I like love hate it.
we
Okay.
like this guy, and this is kind of interesting because there's a guy I have on our team who's awesome, and I told him I was going to lay him off in the
He's
new
more
year.
admin.
He's more admin. Told him I was going to lay him off because I was looking at the profitability in the business, and I'm like, you're a non-revenue producing employee. You're sucking up $20,000 a year. Probably not a good long, even though he's super awesome. But if I do inject some capital and we do keep pushing to grow, he maybe, because he built our whole time tracking thing. Like he pulls out a Google Calendar and it populates itself all the he used ChatGPT for all the code, but he's kind of wired that way. Like he's a super sharp guy. So that's what we're using for that. I usually mostly use LMN just for estimates and the budget. I love the budget. Like,
but not like field routes.
No.
Okay. No automations.
No.
Okay. Well, then in that case, I thought differently. In that case, you might want to consider something like Copilot.
What is the purpose of automation? Just like when communication.
Because the admin person, they're going to get an email every time this happens. When they finish this task, it's going to notify you. So for example, accepted estimate, you could be okay, I want it to go to this user. I want it to go to this user.
Yeah.
Like it saves you so much time in like texting them and then them texting you and like all this sort of thing. Yeah. Or like if an invoice is overdue, it's like, well, how do you know that right now? You go and you see it's overdue. We'll just create an automation. It's going to email them after day 3, day 5, day 7. Then it's going to text you and tell you to call them. And so like those are things that would otherwise fall through the cracks, and you would jump back into the email because you're worried about things slipping through the cracks.
Right.
Yeah, and this is where Cam shines because he's all into the automations and stuff, and I'm like, dude, I don't care.
We don't use the automations in a lot.
Element. No, we don't use. We use Element to like 10% of its capacity.
No, yeah, it's huge.
Like
I haven't loved using. So that's why.
Well, like look, I would say, look, if you're in Element and like don't switch it to Copilot. If it's like something that you're like, I like the software and like I don't care less about Copilot. Like it's a matter of I do think you should have field management software. Like when the guys show up to jobs, they should have job notes. They should have when they see their list for the day, they click up there and it's like directions, right? Yeah. That'll save you so much time in the morning of operations, things happening throughout the day. Like, oh, I didn't know what's the next one. I can't find it. It's not my. Do you just spreadsheet sheets right now you print off for your crew out in the field?
No, like we have more of a. There's a strategy. Like we have an annual plan, like a maintenance plan that we operate out of, and then it's like, hey, we're in this season now, so this is the work, and then our crew lead, we use Trello kind of for some of the notes and stuff like that, and like tracking details.
Okay, yeah, you guys gotta switch. You gotta do like flip a coin. Use any software, you gotta switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
There is like a lot of other things.
It's all just in one. That's what the CRM is for. Like if you're using Trello, like I've seen hearing like all these different little things, like a time tracking inside of a timesheet thing.
Yeah.
You just put it all in one spot. Like flip a coin on the CRM, doesn't matter. It'll be super beneficial. Like you need to have it where the guys can log in from their app, they clock in and out here, they hop in a truck, they have their schedule for the day, they know how many budget hours are assigned, they get to the job site, they click on it, they can see all the job notes of what's assigned to them for that day.
Yeah.
And then your crew lead, like, I thought you were using Element at the full extent, which I know they
no.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Like if you're comfortable in it, like just okay. They're usually
being honest.
like if you're they're like we won't put this in this office because they'll screw me, but like it's more a matter of like it's a little more complicated.
Yes.
They are.
But it's like it's built for massive companies, and they do a great job at it. Really, they do. I know Mark, the founder. Yeah. And so they do a great job. But if you're not comfortable with it, I need you to use something that you're comfortable with. Like we're probably even more complicated than something like say Jobber or Lawn Pro.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Those are even simpler. Yeah. Right.
So we hired like this guy I brought on. I told him his first thing is your job is to implement Element. Okay. So he this is what we found though is like as we started to push it onto the guys and even me, I'm like, this is annoying. I'm like all this detail. I'm like, screw this stuff. Like I'm just getting work done. Like so we found it was not user friendly when it came to like the guys. It's awesome for
really doing all of that legwork. Then that made it.
Well, that becomes their task, right?
Yeah.
So for example, out of 5 hours that you hire them for the spring rush, if maybe an hour's on the phone max, because you're getting like maybe 5 or 6 calls, several emails, like another 30 minutes. Like then the next task is like for the next hour, you're going to look at the software. You look at the day before and close it out. So any jobs that weren't completed, you need to move them over. Any notes from the crew, we call it notes for dispatcher. They can see right off the bat, like, oh, they didn't finish the backyard at someone's house because there was too much water. They didn't trim the bushes or finish the bushes at this strata. Oh, we need to put on for next week. Like things like that right now is going to keep you from scaling because you're juggling all in your head.
Yeah, no, but it's different a little bit on the strata side because it's so large, the properties. It's not like a residential property where you're here for 2 hours doing this specific scope. It's like it's larger scale, bigger. Like we have pretty high efficiency because a lot of our sites, the guys, they show up there at like 8 o'clock and they're there all day long, and then they go home. So it's like you just get as far as you get, right? That's kind of how it goes. So,
but then having benchmarks, like this is back to the budget hour capacity part. Like that can only be accurate if I know how many budget hours that strata should be. And when they're spending the 4 budget hours today, these are the things that they're doing. Instead of just being like, here's all the job notes for this entire contract, this whole strata. Like I'd rather be like, today you're mowing and you're pulling the weeds. Don't worry about the bushes. Don't worry about all this. This is the only part you're doing.
Yes.
So. Like I really think the software would be important.
Yeah, I get it. Yep, I agree.
Even with like scheduling construction and that, it's like, how do you wrap your brain around all of that without knowing how much or like?
So that's more of a project for maybe you and Cam.
I think it's probably lower priority than what we talked about. Yeah. But like I think that if you're like, hey, this is the vision, from here to there. Software's going to get involved. It's just going to. Because right now, a lot of it's being stored in both of your brains, and you don't get to 10 million without losing your brain if it's not in software. Like, you need other people, like this admin person, to be able to step in, and from their house, be able to do route management. Not coming here and looking at spreadsheets, not looking at, sending files to each other, texting each other. It needs to be in one spot.
Yeah, so maybe we'll think about that in the future.
But like these other aspects are like big levers. That's just like, I would say, really consider it to mostly just de-stress your life, especially if you get an admin person involved, because right now you guys can kind of juggle between the two of you, but like eventually it needs to be operationalized.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks again. This has been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for letting me come up here. And this is like perfect weather too.
I know. I was surprised it wasn't rain.